Hey, this is Brent. Welcome back to my kitchen / workshop. What we got today is we got a Shimano Stradic 1000. It's the FK model with the Hagani gearing in it. And what we're going to do today, we're going to talk a little bit about some upgrades that are kind of popular. We're only going to make one upgrade today, and we're going to discuss some of the others that are out there. First of all, let's talk about what I'm not going to do. One of the upgrades is to put another bearing in the handle. Just causes it to spin a little freer. You know, if you got the time and you got the money you want to put into pulling that apart and putting another bearing in it, it feels pretty smooth to me. But it's something that some folks feel is really beneficial, especially when you get those oversized handles. I guess when it really pays dividends. The good thing about bushings, bushings don't typically go bad. I mean, they may wallow out over time, but it's going to take them a lot longer to wallow out than a bearing to get dirty or seize up. So that would be one. The other is going to be the other is going to be that right there. That is your spool bushing. The upgrade is to actually mic that. You measure the inside, the outside, the thickness, and you know, you can either go into the the Shimano site and just for the appropriate thing and get the part number, or you can email Boca Bearings or some other such company and get a bearing for that. The thing for me is, that only really comes into play when you got line peeling off, when you got drag peeling off. So if you're fishing for big fish with a lot of equipment, and you know you're going to have some blistering runs, it could pay dividends there. I'm using this for crappie, smallmouth, probably some light saltwater stuff. I may get involved with a little puppy drum from time to time that are bigger than I mean to catch, but hey, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Just don't know that that's something I'm really all that interested in. Anyway, so that's one. We got the handle, and we got the the bushing here that we talked about for the spool. But what we are going to do, and we're going to need you're going to need just a couple of tools for this. The first is going to be a T5 Torx bit to get the cover off. And this is I'm not sure how mechanically savvy you are, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, I've got another video where I start with this reel in parts, and I actually put it back together as I'm talking about it. And if that's on a difficulty level, probably a 7 maybe. This is a 1. I'll say that. You want to be careful. I one time broke that little teeny tip off right there, that little tip, and I had to actually call Shimano and get another one. But what you can see here, you've got a screw with a cover right there. So, and that's where the bushing is. There's a bushing in here, and what you got is a worm gear that controls the oscillating, which oscillating is what actually causes the main shaft to go up and down, the spool to go up and down. And you've either got an oscillating gear, which is what you typically find on your lower cost reels, or a worm gear, which you typically have in the Saros, which is an older model, has been replaced by I think maybe the Ultegra, not sure. But the Stradics definitely have worm gear oscillation, Sustain, Stella, on up the line. And this bearing that we're going to put in today is actually from Shimano for the Stella. So you should be able to see the part number there. RD11018. And it's a bearing, like I said, comes off Stella. Now, something that you do want to order, excuse me, when you get that, are the spacers to go along with it. I don't know if that's right side up or upside down. Right side up. Are the spacers to go with it. It's a little washer that goes in between the the step down of the worm gear to the bearing. I don't know if I'm using the right words there, but know where it goes. Now these are very small and very light, so don't drop them. All right, now when you pull this cover off, this is it's gonna be really easy and really apparent what you need to do. That screw, very short. Phillips head comes out relatively easy. This little cover here. Now you're left with, once you take the screw out, you just got the cover. And typically when I'm taking this apart, I'm doing the whole reel. This is kind of a treat. And that's your little cover. And you can see what you're left with. You're left with that right there is the end of the worm gear, and the little white Teflon around it is your bushing. So if you just go ahead and rotate your reel a little bit, that thing gets to spinning. It's going to want to come out a little bit, just enough to grab a hold of it. And there you go. Oh, and look, the spacer that is actually shot it right into the toolbox, but the spacer that's on there, actually, we're not going to worry about that. Came out with it, so that made it easy. So now what we have to do, we get the little spacer the spacer that was in there may have been the right size. But we're going to put this over the worm gear. And the one issue you might have is being as it's not completely disassembled, is you're going to have to manipulate the end of that worm gear to get everything to fall in place. Alright, so we got that. So now we got the bearing. And the bearing should slip right in there. And we're going to extend that up. I may have to manipulate it a little bit. Alright, now it's in there. It's in there, and we're not going to move anything. We're not going to take a chance on having that move. But you can see, I think you can now see that the bearing is in there. Now, what we're hoping, and I mentioned earlier that bearings wear out where bushings don't, but something that's riding in a bushing versus something that's riding in a bearing. I mean, typically your reels that have more bearings are going to be more expensive, and hopefully, your reel companies are really kind of paying attention to what bearings they're choosing to upgrade. Oh gosh, we're a pretty long video for just doing this little upgrade, but I can only talk so fast and work. Alright, that, like I said, on a 1 to 10 scale, that's pretty low. That's going to be good. Plenty tight. Back with the cover the right way. And you shouldn't have to force the cover back on, and that's still, the end of that's still attached to the cover. And I need to get my 6 out because there's just too much play. I know I mentioned that's a T5, but I want to try the 6. I have an 8 here, and I know that's too big because that's the one that goes to these screws. But anyway, let's give it a feel. Feels pretty good. Whether it feels any better, I don't know. It's not like, wow, it's so much smoother. But it makes me feel better. Yeah, some of the things about this reel, you certainly don't want to over grease anything. The main shaft is made of a slightly different metal now. The tolerances are really tight, so you don't want to put a bunch of grease on that. You'll feel that being a little sticky. Anyway, it feels pretty good. Remember, one upgrade, the spool bushing and the worm gear bushing. Replacing those with bearings can really help to smooth out your reels. You know, if you want to spend the money on a Stella or something like that, you can get bearings in all those nice places. Otherwise, you can just see and study on which upgrades would be best for you and make your decision from there. I'm Brent, Central Virginia. It's late February 2018. God bless.